Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have a Burn Mirror match. We have Barnaby versus Nick. You know, Burn is very, very accessible right now. Been a bunch of reprints knocking down some of the cards that were more expensive. We have a Rift Bolt being suspended, hoping to handle this Monastery Swift Spear before it does too much damage. Cards like Goblin Guide were actually given out during the Love Your LGS promotion, so deck is more accessible than it's ever been, and we've got a Lightning Bolt taking out 3 more points of life. Rift Bolt does manage to kill a Swift Spear and now an Eidolon, which is not really great when you're behind. Eidolon not really ideal. We've got a Swift Spear swinging into it. Now, if a block is made, you can just throw some instant speed burn at the face, and then you essentially get a free kill on the Eidolon. And another Eidolon comes down on the other side of the board here. So this is some pricey stuff. You're talking about 4 life to play a spell with mana value 3 or less. Any creatures that these decks play, pretty much everything other than Fire Blast, gonna trigger this. And Nick turning both sideways. Barnaby's going to be happy to get these Eidolons off the board. Going to be willing to do anything to save it. And you got to think, if that's the case, you do it pre-combat. Oh no. Yeah, he's got the Lightning Bolt. This feels a little inefficient. So that extra 2 damage not getting in there. Don't love it. Perhaps Nick didn't think a block was going to happen, or it would have been a different block. Maybe he was giving the option of blocking the Swift Spear and just absolutely winning the game on the spot. Barnaby not going to make that error. He dumps his entire hand, and it looks like this is just a suicide play. Yeah, he's just playing it all out. Does not think it's possible to win from there with the Eidolon on board. Dumps his hand, takes a bunch of damage, and is just moving on to the next one as he has can't see a line to pick up the W. Game 1. He'll have the play for game 2, which can be very important in this matchup. Being on the play while you are down a card is a big benefit to be able to start attacking right out of the gate. Really punishes your opponent's slower draws. Of course, there's going to be a bunch of dead cards to sideboard out. Things like Price of Progress. Not going to be exciting here. You generally are going to want some creature removal that can also damage the player. Things like Searing Blood and Searing Blaze that can kill a creature and do 3 to your opponent. Much better than not going after your opponent's life total and just using your Lightning Bolts as removal spells. You do really want to be pressuring your opponent incrementally with every single card. Burn, kind of a combo deck where you just assemble like 6 or 7 cards that all say target player. Creatures, though, now play a much bigger role than they did in the earlier days of Magic. Well, I don't know if they play a bigger role. They're just way better. I mean, you used to have to play garbage like Jackal Pup and even Goblin Cadet. Cards that not very exciting. Now we've got just 1 mana hasty creatures that are a heck of a lot better than like a Raging Goblin, that's for sure. A Mull down to 5. Nick has got the play, and he's against a burn opponent on 5. Oh, but he's further mulliganing. Try and skip ahead. Yikes, so Nick also had to mull to 5. Oh, I got it crossed up who got to go first. That's right, Barnaby had that flurry at the end, had me thinking that he had won. That was all for show. Goblin Guide gets hit with a Lightning Bolt. Barbarian Rings card you may not have seen before. That's way back in Odyssey. Threshold, you're going to be able to pay a red and sack it to do 2 damage. Historically, I have not really felt like this card has been worth it in burn decks. It does squeeze a little bit of extra damage out of your mana base, but overall, I've found that I've probably run into just as many problems not being able to Fire Blast with a Barbarian Ring as I have where I'm getting the extra damage out of it. One of the issues is, when you're winning a game, getting extra damage doesn't really matter. But if you lose a game because you have a lack of damage, that's absolutely... Potentially losing Fire Blast can just be a really big difference. Maybe it's the second Fire Blast. You got 3 mountains and a Barbarian Ring, but games where you draw a Barbarian Ring, you're generally not going to be getting in maximum damage as far as Fire Blast is concerned. Eidolons just making an absolute mockery of this board. There's 3 Eidolons down. You're going to take 6 damage to try and bolt your opponent from here. This is a messy board state. Barnaby's got the higher life total, so he's happy to just proceed as is. Nick may need to simplify this just to be able to have the potential to cast spells without taking a oversized lava axe to the face. And it's going to be both Eidolons getting cleared. Bomat Courier comes in. Players on a multi 5, but managed to get creature heavy draws and do a lot of work in terms of chipping away at your opponent's life total. Those creatures, especially in the bad draws, the bad situations, I should say, you mull the 5. Like, you are not going to win a game where you mull the 5 and don't have creatures with burn. I mean, if you've got a land or 2 and some burn spells, I mean, you're just going to play them and that's that, and you're just going to sit there and lose. Maybe you top deck a burn spell every turn and you can get your opponent out of there by like turn 6 or something, but that's just not realistically winning many Legacy. Here, we see these creatures continuing the pressure and Lava Spike actually just closing the door. We had Bomat Courier going up, and that could have reloaded. I'm not generally a fan of this card. We'll see if it works out in any of these games. And Roiling Vortex, a card that... Yeah, I don't know. Roiling Vortex here, I mean, it can hurt you just as much as your opponent in this matchup. Beginning of each player, it deals 1 damage. So they're going to take the first damage off of that. That's potentially fine. And then on the other side of that, whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, it does 5 to them. That's going to be useful. Its interaction with Fire Blast and Rift Bolt. Little hiccup there. So yeah, we get the Monastery Swift Spear, Chain Lightning, clearing out Goblin Guide. Still a whole lot of life. 14 apiece. Goblin Guides perhaps ready to trade. Ooh, Fire Blast is a scary card on the other side of the table. Interesting. Chain Lightning. And Bomat Courier going up. That Goblin Guide is tapped. Nick, not the beatdown. I don't know about attacking there. Goblins, or Burn generally just wants to be attacking, going all out, but you can't always do that. Sometimes you got to hold back. Feels like that type of situation. You're just not winning the race. Don't know the contents of his hand. I guess it is possible. We have Fire Blast on a guy. Monastery Swift Spear taken out by Fire Blast. That is not where we want to be. Lightning Bolt revealed. Down to just 4 life. Chain Lightning can be used now. That's something. A lightning bolt to the face, swinging with Bomat, and that's actually game. So a slugfest down to the wire, but ultimately Barnaby ends up winning that one in a burn mirror match.